Want to hear a fact? There has been more sales in the Phoenix, Arizona area in the last 30 days that are cash buyers with the intention of renting out their properties than there has been FHA loan closings, which are primarily a loan used by first-time home buyers. And we're talking specifically in the home buying range of like 300,000 to 400,000, which is primarily for first-time home buyers. Let's start off by saying this. This isn't another housing market video talking about the crash or some other kind of topic intended on using your fears to manipulate you to click on the video to get more views. There's enough of that happening on this platform already. Instead, I'm here to talk to you about something pretty alarming that's happening in the real estate community, specifically talking about cash buyers or any just general investor buyers buying up the majority of the first-time home buyer or homes that usually are bought by first-time home buyers. This isn't based on a conspiracy. This isn't based on, is BlackRock buying all the properties? No, this is based off cold, hard data and facts that I have access to as a licensed real estate agent in the Phoenix, Arizona area. So how I was tipped off to this fact was on my YouTube live stream I usually host on Saturday around noon time around there. Somebody came on the live stream and said some pretty interesting things, and my first reaction, well, you'll see. Jorge says these cash buyers are corporations. All right. I keep seeing this over and over again, and honestly, it's infuriating because it seems like people love to gravitate towards like this idea that there's conspiracy-minded things. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look up the last 10 days of closings of cash, and I'm going to tell you which ones are corporations or not, because I'm really tired of seeing that. Like, it's bugging me.
5 minutes later.
Guys. I want to show you this, but I don't know if it'll get me in trouble. 10 of them. They've bought half of the property. That's 3 to 350 supposed to be for homeowners, like for starter home, like owners. 50 to 60%. Yeah, no, okay, I'm wrong. Okay, bird's eye. I can admit when I'm wrong. There is something going on here. So what I first decided to do is focus on 3 specific cities that are in completely different areas of my general area. And these are 3 cities that primarily a lot of first-time home buyers like to focus on. I started off by looking at the past 30 days of data to see what has sold under $400,000. And once again, I specifically chose under $400,000 because to me, that is what encapsulates most first-time home buyers. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, whoa, that's a lot of money. Some of you guys thinking that's chump change here. We can barely buy a shack here. I'm specifically focusing on my area, and as I continue to make more videos on this, I will reach out to other realtors in different cities and states to kind of see what's going on there. But in this case, you just have to follow along with me here. One of the cities was Chandler, and interestingly enough, there's been under the last 30 days, according to the date I checked this, there were about 154 sales, and 45 of them were cash deals. So approximately 29% of all sales in that Chandler area are going cash. The second one was the Peoria area, 155 total sales, but 54 of them were cash, so about 35% of the sales. And the last one was Goodyear, 106 total, and 36 sales total being cash, so 34%. So once I found that information, I started going through each specific home. And what I can do as a real estate agent is I can look at the tax records, and when you purchase a property, you have to state what your intention with it is. If it's going to be your primary occupant, is it going to be a second home, or is it going to be a rental property? And secondly, I can identify who are the owners. Now, I broke it down in 4 categories for the potential owners. Number 1 was going to be your private owner, someone it's either a trust or some kind of family or single person buying your property. And I'm not keeping track of everybody's name, so for this purpose, I just considered them a private owner. Second one was an LLC. So why I called it an LLCC is essentially if I found an LLC company that had less than 2 properties in the past 30 days, I just booked them into this one general LLCC area. Why did I say C? Well, because originally I was looking at LLCA and LLCB, which is our 2 companies that kept coming up. So for this point of this video, any other LLC company buying a property for the purpose of renting it or whatever that bought it under an LLC that had less than 2 properties, I put them in this category. And for the third category and fourth, maybe even fifth, I identified 3 main companies that have enough purchases in the specific areas that are actually worth having their own category. I tracked the ownership, and I also was able to track the purpose of the property. So there's generally 3 categories here. There is your rental, your owner-occupied, and your non-primary. So looking back at the last 30 days of sale, the first thing that's pretty interesting to find out is a lot of these properties, although they're selling cash, are selling for above the list price. I'm not really seeing much of a pattern here, but it is very interesting to see, like for example, here in Chandler, only about 5-6 properties out of the 45 sold either under list price. So it's interesting to see that these properties are still selling above list, not really giving a chance to normal buyers who maybe only have a loan, maybe even have an extra little cash to give the seller. If the cash buyer is coming in and offering above list, I mean, there's some cases here that went $62,000 above list. It really doesn't really give a chance to the people. So in Chandler, I discovered that 67% of the properties that were purchased via cash are private owners. LLCC, which is our general category, only took up 24%. One of our three main companies, which we'll call Alpha, Beta, and Charlie. Here, Charlie didn't buy any properties, but Alpha and Beta. Alpha took up 4% and Beta took up 5%, so a total 9% of the properties being purchased. So here it looks like private owners in the cash sector are still doing pretty well. However, what is concerning to find out is that 49% of them purchased it with the intention of renting it out. 40% of them purchased it for owner occupied, and 11% are purchased it for a non-primary. And you start looking in the West Valley, which is, specifically here in Phoenix, is a more like suburban, more family-oriented area. It is off the bat, we noticed something concerning. 31% of it were essentially LLC entities, and 14% actually made up by our Alpha company, which is one of the companies that we found. They purchased 14% of properties cash in the past 30 days. And what's even more concerning in the specific area, for the purpose of these purchases, 58% of them were rentals. So total 21 properties were purchased for the purpose of renting them out, and only 9 of them were purchased for the idea of owner occupying them. And when we're looking at the FHA numbers in that particular area, 11 of them were only FHA. So that one really stuck out to me because, this, what we call a company Alpha, buying these properties here. I mean, they bought 11 properties, which were more properties than were sold to owner-occupied buyers. They bought 11 of them for the purpose of renting them. And it seems like they're hyper-focusing in this specific area. And what's really concerning is when I do pull up a property that they purchased, like for example, here's one that was listed for $329,900. This is a price range that would be perfect for most home buyers. Nowadays, most people that reach out to me, they make okay money, they make okay credit. They can qualify up to $300,000 to $350,000. $329,000 would have been something, maybe we offer $5,000 or $10,000 more, maybe we pay a little closing costs, it would be a no-brainer. But they offered $355,000 on that property, cash. Do you think any normal first-time home buyer has a chance of getting this property? And this is a trend I continue to see. Listed $303,000, they offer $330,000 cash. Listed $315,000, they offer $340,000 cash. On average, they were offering $25,000, $30,000 more. But a lot of, not only this specific company, but if I'm looking at all these LLCs buying these properties, they're offering $30,000, $35,000 more, really negating the opportunity for first-time home buyers. And when specifically focusing on Peoria now, which is another I would consider first-time home buyer friendly area, it does vary where you can get some $1 million houses there because it can go from first-time home buyer to like really expensive. But right now, I consider Peoria, Northern Glendale to be like a good home for you to buy, maybe a non-HOA home that's not going to be too expensive. Well, ownership, 44% of them were private owners. 30% of them were LLCs. Alpha was 5%, Beta was 4%, and Charlie makes an appearance here at 17% of the properties purchased. So combined, these companies made up 26% of all cash sales, essentially a quarter of them for the purpose of renting. If we look at the general numbers of what everybody bought these properties for, 67% of them bought it with the purpose of renting, 18% owner occupied, and 50% non-primary. What's happening here is kind of egregious. They're not focusing on the areas that are a little more upscale. Instead, what they seem to be doing is they're focusing on middle class to lower class neighborhoods where primarily most people started their first house with. These are areas that I bought for, I specialize in first-time home buyers for the past 8 years. I was selling most of my houses in these areas, but they're focusing on these specific areas. And once again, looking at these numbers, there's a house listed at $249,000. They offered $282,000, $32,000 more, $18,000 more, $19,000 more, $15,000, $29,000, up to $40,000 more. Listed $290,000, sold for $330,000. They're really not giving buyers a chance to even try to compete. Because remember, even though they sold cash, all these listings were originally just a listing for sale. LLCs bought up 16 houses. The Charlie, Beta, and Alpha one bought up about 13, 14. Guess how many FHA sales sold in that particular area? Only 14. 36 of them sold for rental. So almost more than doubling the amount of people that are buying through FHA. So let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. Yes, clearly, if there's a cash buyer in the market, most of the time we're going to assume they're investors. So it's not a surprising feat to see, oh my gosh, all these cash buyers are investors. Well, the problem is they're making up a big percentage of the sales. These numbers are not concerning or alarming. 30-something sales happening to cash buyers in the last 30 days are scary. No, well, they are scary when there's only about 100 sales happening per month in that price range. And they are scary when they are competing against the first-time home buyer. Traditionally, investors focused on houses that needed fixing up, so that way they can, flip them and make their money. Or they would be smart about their purchases and they wouldn't offer, $40,000 above the list price. They would only maybe give you list price or a little bit under. So someone who is a traditional buyer can come in and say, you know what, we'll give you $10,000 more, or you can go with the cash offer for $10,000 less. And the seller got to choose, well, am I going to try to make $10,000 more and actually sell it to someone who's going to live in it? Or do I just sell it to a greedy corporation? It was usually a actual, fair battle. I can't speak on the intention of these companies. I can only speak on the facts, and I can assume what they're trying to do. The fact is that they are putting a lot of money towards the competition to get these houses. So when there is a property selling for $350,000, $360,000, they deem it valuable enough where they'll put $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on the offer to completely beat everybody out. When investigating these companies, specifically the top three, they're shell companies, and the more you look into it, some of them tied to foreign investments, others tied to like some kind of REITs and whatnot. Well, the point of that is to say that these aren't dumb people. These aren't just people who have their daddy's money and they're just throwing money to the wind. These are calculated investors that know what they're doing. So these companies are creating two things. Okay, number one is they're changing and the perception, I don't even say changing, more like warping the perception of homeowners or sellers. When 35% of properties are selling to these cash buyers, that 80-90% of the time they're offering an egregious more amount, what is the next homeowner going to do when they put their house on the market? What are they going to expect? Homeowners are going to start expecting higher prices. And not only that, and by homeowners expecting it, buyers also feel like they have to give that to compete. So once again, 30% of them sold cash way above, but let's talk about the other 60 or 70%. Are those people thinking that they have to compete with cash offers that are offering 30, 40,000 more? Then they feel like they have to offer 50 or 60,000 more. So by them, playing ball or, giving these people more money, we're warping the perception of homeowners and home buyers to think that we're going to have to continually drive up the prices. And yes, they're initially giving cash for a lot more of these properties, but by them doing that, the values continue to rise. And, automatically people start thinking, well, is there going to be a housing market crash? Well, if these guys knew what they were doing, they wouldn't want a housing market crash because most of their money is based off the value of these properties. So I don't think the concern then becomes that, well, the housing market crash is going to happen, but what motivation would they have for having the prices continue to go up and up and up? Interestingly enough, the houses they're not even making bids on, they have left an impression on those people buying and selling those houses because of what they've done for other homes, right? The second effect of they're doing is they're creating a lot more rentals in the market. And it kind of ties into the first question of why would they want the prices to go higher and higher? Let's not mince words here, guys. We're not in conspiracy land or anything. This is just pure knowledge here. Okay. When I found out this information, I was frustrated. I was almost crying, and I'm a pretty emotional boy, don't get me wrong. But, I can't help but think about me a few years ago. I can't think about my family, my friends, people that have, freaking worked their butt off to get their college degree, and they've been working, and now they're going to buy a house. Those people are slowly not going to be able to buy a house, not because they don't have the right credit, nor because they can qualify. Most of them will be able to, but it's because they don't have the extra $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 cash to give. Who is it? So these people are not going to live in apartments for the rest of their life, nor are they going to live with mom and dad. So what's happening here is they're creating a lot more rentals in the market. So they're almost making it seem like, well, if you, say, John and Sally just graduated college, they just had their first kid, now they want to go purchase a property. Okay, what are their options? They either try to compete in a market with limited inventory where they're going to have to offer way more to get the house and have some extra cash, or they go pay rent to one of these companies who, surprisingly enough, one of these companies, I actually sold a house for a client of mine like 3 years ago, and it wasn't the specific company, but the listing agent that's helping the company, I remember he made an offer. It was cash. It was really good. We took it, and we saw that the house was listed, as a rental like a month later for like a lot higher than most rentals in that area. And we thought they would never get that price for it, but they ended up getting that price for it. So most of these houses I'm looking at, they bought months ago, are for rent, or they have been rented out, and they're not cheap. Like 2000, we're talking mid 2000s, even high 1000. Then the option becomes, if you want to live in a nicer home and you don't have the extra cash to compete, what is your choice only going to be? There's all these new rentals in the market, these new rentals in the area. They're going to go want you to rent. So in essence, the two causes that they're creating then kind of leads to, well, what's their purpose? Well, it could be that they want to continue to make the prices drive up, drive up, drive up, drive up. And they're just continuing to ride on that equity wave. And yes, they did offer 10, 20, 30,000 more to get it. But as everybody's mind's being warped and the values continue to go higher and higher and higher, they're leading to a point where their money's in a safe position. Now, is the idea that they're going to continue to get the prices up and up and get to the point where they're all just going to cash out at once and just put their houses massively for sale? Or is it just a good savings net for them to have, right? The housing, and have their money there, and that's continually churning some return with all the rentals they're doing. What could be the second reason? Well, this could be a master, either intentionally or non-intentionally, but this is essentially a way for renting to start getting normalized on the middle class and lower class range. Right now, renting is only an option for folks who maybe have lower credit scores and maybe they made mistakes in their life, or maybe they live in higher price areas like California. Go talk to someone in California right now. They're going to say, yeah, we have to rent. It's just accepted there that if you don't make millions, you're going to rent. Well, what if they're trying to make that happen around the country? Yeah, we just can't afford. We're just going to rent. Who does that benefit? That benefits them. Not only are they going to be able to continue to rise their equity, they're going to be able to use us as for a way to get their money back, right? And they're charging, once again, a pretty penny. So say they buy a house for $350,000 and they rent it out for $2,000. They're making about $24,000, which is about 7% return. Now, let's say there's repairs to get done and whatnot. Yeah, maybe it goes down to 5 or 6%, but a 7% return on investment is pretty solid. Now, multiply that by hundreds and hundreds of houses. It's a little disheartening, to be quite frank with you. It's upsetting. But more importantly, I'm concerned about the first-time home buyer. Is that even a term we're going to be using? Or is it just going to be, I got lucky, right? And I was able to get something. Lots of more videos to be made about this. I think we're on my Discord channel right now where we're researching more about these companies, specifically these 3 companies and where they're leading to. We're finding out they have a lot more national presence. We're really starting to dig in and dig deep of what the purpose of these guys are. So if you want to join the conversation, you can join our Discord, and of course subscribe to the channel, because I think there'll be more videos to be made about this. I want to start researching where these companies are based out of. I want to be able to start calling these agents and be like, why, what is the purpose? Like, what is the agenda for these guys? Like, when they tell you to look for houses, what kind of houses are you looking for? I will continue to make home buying videos, because I think one of the best ways to combat this is to become homeowners, because I think that is their greatest threat, for people to become homeowners, because if they become homeowners, then they can't make money off you.